It is essential to be up to date on happenings around you, and to make that easy for you, ladies and gentlemen, we present Freshlight, where we bring fresh newspaper headlines to the limelight. Mondays to Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Watch, like, subscribe, and make sure your notification is activated on our YouTube channel. You can also like and comment on our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTV and radio.
It is a pleasant morning from this side, Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. And we are optimistic that you had a splendid night, though cold. But it is a new day where you can right all wrong and be determined that today is going to be a success. Welcome to Freshlight, where we will take the newspaper's headlines, one after the other, look at the news trending on all of our tabloid has been published. Fresh from bakery, fresh from the publishers of those tabloids. This morning on Freshlight, we'll be coming to you with The Sun, The Nation, Vanguard, and Punch newspaper. We'll start from that one that usually has focus on the north, from the south rather, and that is the Daily Sun. On the Daily Sun, you will see cover stories like "No Going Back on Nationwide Protest," vows NLC. Anxiety as tribunal reserves judgment. That is available on page 6 of the Sun newspaper. Nigerian foreign reserves in their situation, Senate warns. It has riders like cautions against further naira depreciation. It is available on page 8 of the Sun newspaper. FG spent over 3 trillion to save power sector from collapse. NESD. It is on page 2. Turbojet crashes in major Lagos street. No fatalities recorded. That's on page 4 of the Sun newspaper. Let's quickly give attention to a few stories on the Sun newspaper. Tinubu APC insists Obi is not a member of LP. President Bola Tinubu and All Progressive Congress APC yesterday insisted that the presidential candidate of the Labour Party LP, Peter Obi, not being a member of the party, lacks the legal rights to challenge the outcome of February 25 election. They equally urged the PEPC to bar him from recontesting if the election is eventually annulled. In their joint petition, Obi and LP alleged that the presidential poll was rigged against him in about 18,088 polling units, totaling over 2.5 million votes. Aside alleged overvoting that took place in parts of the Southwest, he also alleged that INEC's failure to upload results to High-Ref Portal in real time negatively impacted the polls. Tinubu APC seems to be not a member of LP. It is on the Sun newspaper this morning. Anxiety as tribunal reserves judgment. It has the rider counsel to Tinubu Atiku Obi adopt final addresses. Heaven won't fall if I'm declared winner, PDP candidate tells court. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has said heavens will not fall if the presidential election petition court, PEPC, could summon courage to declare him and his People's Democratic Party, PDP, winners of the February 25 presidential election. Atiku urged the court to choose the path of substantial justice over technicalities in arriving at his decision, further prayed the court to set a precedence and write his name in the history of annulling and declarations of Bola Tinubu as winner of the poll by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. While adopting the final written address, Atiku and BDP, through their legal team led by Chris Uche, urged the court to be the first to nullify a presidential election in Nigeria. Anxiety as tribunal reserves judgment. Still on the Sun newspaper, Delta Guba tribunal dismisses Omoagege's applications for ballot recounts. An application seeking a recount of the ballot papers used for the March 18 governorship election in Delta State has been dismissed by the Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Asaba. The application was brought by the governorship candidate of All Progressive Congress APC, Ovie Omoagege, who is challenging the return of Sherifo Oboreve of the People's Democratic Party PDP as the winner of the election by Independent National Electoral Commission INEC. Ballot papers containing bags were tendered by a sworn witness from the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC and were subsequently admitted in evidence at the tribunal Monday. Counsel to the petition, Alex SAN, had made oral applications of the ballot to be counted, but the applications was opposed by counsel to the second and third respondent, Dami Adodo and Ekeme Omovoriele, respectively. Delta Guba tribunal dismisses Omoagege's applications for ballot recount. Lastly, on the Sun newspaper, you will see this headline: Workers, NUPRC management clash over poor conditions. Workers of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, on Tuesday barricaded the entrance of the head office of the commission in Abuja in protest of unpaid emolument and others unresolved issues. Members and staffs carried placards and chanted songs of frustrations while insisting that the management owed them 7-month salaries at the time the economy was on its knees, resulting in astronomical living costs. They also called on the management to remit the pension appropriately, as they have reasons to believe there is a backlog of it. Responding, the Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Benga Komalafe, said the protesting workers are under the umbrella of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers Senior Staff Associations of Nigeria, PENGASON, whose protest letter was responded to by the management in 24 hours earlier. Workers, NUPRC management clash over poor working condition. That is also available on the Sun newspaper. Moving on to another newspaper, and that is the Nation newspaper this morning. On the Nation newspaper, you will see cover stories like IG warns against violence as Labour insists on protest. It has rider like NLC seeks security cover for protesters. How Tinubu will end electricity crisis, El Rufai. Okay, also on the Nation, you will see Senate to revisit CBN Act, says Akpabio. Tribunal reserves judgment in Atiku Obi petition. These, among others, is what you will see on the Nation newspaper as published this Wednesday, the second day of the month of August 2023. Okay, going to details of the newspapers one after the other this morning. Let's quickly start from panic as shopper crashes into Lagos building. Panic was engulfed residents around Oba Akran in Ikeja, Lagos, after a helicopter crashed into a building. The shoppers, who these days were yet unknown, was said to have exploded as soon as it landed on the building located adjacent AP Filling Stations and United Bank for Africa (UBA) on the Commercial Avenue. The incident, sources said, occurred around 3:30 p.m., causing hysteria in the area. 4 persons, comprising 2 white and 2 black men, according to the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), were rescued from the scene. Panic as shopper crashes into Lagos building. The Nation has the details of that story this morning. Okay, let's look at another story. IG warns against violence as Labour stages protest. Labour yesterday insisted on going ahead with today's planned protest against petrol subsidy removal. But Acting Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, warned against violence. He ordered police commissions to beef up security. Labour said the protest would start because the relief package unveiled on Monday by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not enough to alleviate suffering. Police spokesman OLUWAFISAYOMI quoted Egbetokun as saying, "The Nigerian police force reiterates its commitment to ensure the safety and security of all citizens during the period of the planned protest, as all necessary measures to facilitate the peaceful conduct of those demonstrations have been emplaced. However, it is thereby reaffirmed that any attempt by miscreants to exploit the situations for violence purposes, vis-a-vis vandalism, gangsterism, and extortion will be met with a firm, professional, and commensurate lawful approach. The police will not tolerate any act that threatens the peace and well-being of our country." End of quote. To read details of that IG's 10 warnings to miscreants, pick up a copy of the Nation newspaper and search for the headline, "IG warns against violence as Labour stages protest." Also, you will see the story, Labour may reconsider planned protest. The organized Labour gave an indication on Tuesday that it may reconsider its planned nationwide protest, scheduled to commence on Wednesday. Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, Iman Agbaja, gave the indication at the end of the Presidential Steering Committee on Palliatives meeting at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He urged that though the measures announced Monday evening by President Bola Tinubu were welcoming, they were not far-reaching enough. He, however, said the Labour team will go back to the bodies they represent to consult to achieve consensus on the next line of action. Labour may reconsider planned protest. That is available on the Nation newspaper this morning. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, PEPC to deliver judgment in Obi's petition. The presidential election petition called PEPC has said it will deliver judgment on the petition by Peter Obi and the Labour Party on a date to be announced later. Justice Haruna Sumani, the presiding justice of the court, made the announcement a moment ago after lawyers to petitioners and the respondent adopted final written addresses and made their last submissions. Lawyer to the petitioners, Livy Uzoku SAN, urged his clients proved their case and prayed the court to grant the relief sought. Lawyers to the respondent, Abubakar Mahmood SAN, for the Independent National Electoral Commission, Wole Olanipekun SAN, for President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kasim Shettima, and Lateef Fagbemi SAN for All Progressive APC, prayed the court to dismiss the petition for lacking in merit. PEPC to deliver judgment in Obi's petition. That is available on the Nation newspaper this morning. We'll go for a commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at other two newspapers that we have left on our shelf this morning on Freshlight. Do stay with us.
Thousands have appointed severally in the bid to see greener pasture abroad. To those who are in the traveling agency business, we have in-depth details on how to start and anywhere in the world. Do you want permanent residential America, Asia? It's at our years of experience and expertise speaks volume. Let's process and secure Canada within offer Hajj and Umrah services to us at number 9 Town South Central Mall, Roy Hotel, Abiola Way 0 or 0806 Pay for peace of mind. Talk to gbogbo aláfẹ́ tún gbayì fẹ́ wọṣọ ìmú House of Zion. Zion, the name I know when we talk of top-notch fashion. House of Zion. Designer bags lóríṣiríṣi, àwọn ìtẹ̀lẹ̀ bàtà tó jìnnà tí wọ́n sunglasses àwọn orin àsìkò fi ń gbafẹ́ lò. Gbà dẹ̀ ó ń ṣàmì èmìrà èmi ni ó mú olùmí ẹ̀gẹ́ gbọ́n pa nílò jà. Làbíà ìdí gbogbo ẹ̀rà House of Zion wà ní Ṣògo Room Church, Agape Parish, Ọlọ́runṣògo Abẹ́òkúta. Lórí Instagram 686 House of Zion. Ilé ìtajà tá a ti ń tojúlówó aṣọ àti nǹkan aṣaralóge tó gbayì tó fẹ́ wọṣọ yìí ṣògo tó pàgbàmù Zion.
Welcome back to Freshlight on your darling dial, Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Don't forget that as you're seeing us on Facebook, you can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, Al-IyamoyeTv, is available for you to be subscribed to. Just click the subscription button and also click the notification button. After seeing a video, don't forget to rate our video as you desire. We are available on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Going on with the Freshlight this morning, let's look at what we have on Vanguard newspaper. On Vanguard newspaper, NLC insists on protest as talks fail. It has several riders like FG begs Labour to suspend protest. Labour says palliative not enough to cushion hardship. To brief organs on government plea to suspend protest. A gyro absent had the meeting. TUC, civil society allies, direct members to participate in protest. It's police constitutional duty to protect Nigerians, NLC. Also, on Vanguard, you will see the bold picture of the plane crash in Lagos yesterday. See how the emergency agencies and other security opera agencies were trying to evacuate the remains of the crash. Benway announces 15,000, 100,000 allowances for corps members, doctors. Subsidy. Lift ban on fuel supply to border communities. Senate tells FG. That is available on page 9. 4 persons rescued as plane crashes in Lagos. And in sport, we are not scared of England, says Super Falcons coach. Okay, that's what we have on Vanguard newspaper. Let's quickly give attention to the details of the story. NIS blames illegal immigrant for upsurge in criminal activities in Nigeria. The Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, has blamed increased cases of criminal activities across the country on illegal immigrants. Kwara State Controller of NIS, Aminu Shamsuddin, spoke yesterday during an interactive section with journalists on the sidelines of the 60th anniversary celebration of the service. According to him, from our statistics, I can tell you that most of the criminal activities perpetrated in Nigeria are masterminded and carried out by illegal immigrants who force their way into the country. It is a challenge we are hoping to overcome because of the porosity of our borders with some of our neighboring countries. End of quote. The controller told journalists that the country was surrounded by francophone countries whose nationals desperately love to stay in Nigeria despite the obvious luggage barrier. NIS blame illegal immigrants for upsurge in criminal activities in Nigeria. NLC protest against fuel subsidy removal in Lagos, Kano, Abuja. The Nigerian Labour Congress NLC has commenced its planned protest in Lagos and Abuja states. The Congress had advised the federal government to provide enough palliatives that will cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. On Monday, the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu provided 500 billion naira, half of what the government saved since the removal of fuel subsidy, as palliatives. In view of that, NLC with the Trade Union Congress yesterday had a meeting with the Nigerian government which ended in a deadlock. NLC insisted that its planned protest against fuel subsidy removal would hold today. Okay, the Vanguard newspaper has details of that story. NLC protest against fuel subsidy removal in Lagos, Kano, Abuja. Also attached to it are pictures of protesters in those states. Heavy security as NLC commences protest over petrol subsidy removal. There was heavy security on ground at the Ikeja underbridge in Lagos as members of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC commences nationwide protest over the removal of petrol subsidy. Recall the organized labor said the palliatives rolled out by the president in his nationwide broadcast on Monday night was very insignificant to cushion the effect of the suffering in the country. This is as the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, Comrade Joe Ajaero, was conspicuously absent at the meeting. The Nigerian Labour Congress NLC specifically said it was going ahead with the proposed nationwide protest on Wednesday. Briefing State House correspondent at the end of the Presidential Steering Committee on Palliative held at the State House, Abuja, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, appealed to organized labor to suspend the planned protest. Heavy security as NLC commences protest over petrol subsidy removal. Conan Bidi, former Ivory Coast president, is dead. Former Ivory Coast president Henry Conan Bedi, part of an old guard of politicians who dominated politics in the West African nation for generations, has died, aged 89, a close relative told Reuters on Tuesday. Bedi served as president from 1993 until his All-Star in 1999, and later ran a losing race against his longtime political rival, President Alassane Ouattara, in elections in 2020 when he was 86 years old. It is not clear why Bedi died. His spokesperson could not be reached for comment. He was long remembered and in some parts revealed for his role in promoting the issue of Ivorite or Ivorian identity. Okay, that's a breaking one, and the sad one. Conan Bedi, former Ivory Coast president, is dead. Also, on Vanguard newspaper, reps invite security, intelligence chiefs, others over employment racketeering. The House of Representatives had a committee probing employment racketeering and gross mismanagement of the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS, by agencies of the federal government, has directed that the Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force, and the police, as well as the intelligence agencies, among others, to appear before it on Wednesday, today. Chairman of the committee, Yusuf Gaji, who handed down the directive during a hearing of the ad hoc committee on Tuesday, expressed displeasure over their absence, even though they were duly invited. Reps invite security, intelligence chiefs over employment racketeering. The Vanguard is reporting that. World Bank President Ajibala to visit Tinubu. World Bank President Ajibala will meet Nigerian President Bola Tinubu in a 3-day visit to most populous African country on Wednesday. This was disclosed according to a statement on Tuesday by the World Bank, saying that Banga will arrive in Nigeria after a 2-day visit to Ethiopia. The statement by the Bretton Woods institutions also revealed that Banga will be joined by his wife, Ritu. The bank noted that Banga's visit is the new development of a global tour that is at the center of a mission to write a new playbook for the 78-year-old institution. World Bank President Ajibala to visit Tinubu. The Vanguard has the details of that story. Going to our last newspaper for today, and that is Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper on its cover asks this boldly: subsidy talks, Labour shuns FG, begins protest as oil workers down tools. Also, on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu sends second ministerial list today. FG order probe as test flight plane crashes on Lagos Road. Niger, Russia, Burkina Faso, Mali oppose ECOWAS military intervention. Directing interventions in power sector hit 7 trillion naira FG. And lastly, 500 illegal carrier operators under prosecution. NIPOST. This, among others, is what you'll see on the cover page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Okay, let's quickly look at them one after the other. Subsidy talks, Labour shuns FG, begins protest as oil workers down tools. The two-day meeting between the federal government and the organized labor ended in a deadlock on Tuesday, with the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress leaders vying to begin a nationwide protest against the removal of fuel subsidy. This came as oil workers under the aegis of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association began an indefinite strike on Tuesday, citing inhumane treatment by the management of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, an agency of the federal government. The strike and planned protest by the organized labor slated for Wednesday today over the fuel subsidy removal by the federal government may shut down the country and paralyze the economy. Subsidy talks, Labour shuns FG, begins protest as oil workers down tools. That is on Punch newspaper this morning. Also on Punch newspaper, FG orders probe as third flight plane crashes on Lagos Road. There was panic on Tuesday in the Oba-Akran area of Ikeja, Lagos State, as a light single-engine airplane burst into flames after crashing on the road. The crash happened opposite the United Bank of Africa around 3:30 p.m. It was learned that only 2 persons, the pilot and the passenger, were on board. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, while confirming the incident in a statement, said the aircraft, Jabiru J430, with nationality and registration mark 5NCQ3, CCQ, operated by Airfares Hospitality and Tour, was on a test flight when the incident happened. FG order probe as test flight plane crashes on Lagos Road. Okay, and lastly, Tinubu sends second ministerial list today. President Bola Tinubu will today send a new batch of ministerial nominees to the Senate for screening. According to a very reliable source in the state, the names would either come on Tuesday night or very early on Wednesday morning. The source exclusively told our correspondent that the names of the new batch of ministerial nominees will be read at the plenary today. The lawmaker added that the screening of the 28 nominees will be concluded today so that the next batch can be screened thereafter. Tinubu sends second ministerial list today. The Punch is reporting that. Okay, let's quickly look at sports before we would call it a day. World Cup debut, Trios Monday, Highs quarterfinal. Super Falcon forward Gift Monday is excited after making a Women's World Cup debut at the ongoing tournament in Australia. Nigeria broke their spot in the round of 16 after a goalless draw against the Republic of Ireland in their last group game on Monday, becoming the only African side to finish the round unbeaten. Nigeria drew 0-0 with Canada in their first game and followed it with a stunning 3-2 win over co-host Australia to take control of their destiny before finishing the job with Monday's stalemates. Round the Woodrum ladies finished second in the second round with 5 points, 1 point behind co-host Australia, who topped Canada 4-0 in their last game as well to move ahead of Nigeria. World Cup debut Trios Monday, Ice quarterfinal. The Punch has that on his sports column. Thank you for being part of Freshlight this lovely Wednesday morning. Let's do it again tomorrow at the same time, where we'll be reeling out fresh content from our newspapers. I remain OLUWAFISAYOMI AJIBOLA and continue to be our guest on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on our YouTube channel. Do have a splendid day.